So hi guys, welcome to stage 8 of the F-14A Tomcat. So this episode is going to be all about stepping back. We are going to try a new product. I'll explain that a bit later on, but just taking a step back and then make sure everything is all kind of on the same level, rather than having this bit stuck there and this bit's not done much. We'll just try and even everything out. So let's see how I get on. So the first thing I want to show you is I've done a little mock-up. I've taken all the masking tape off. Obviously I've got the white done underneath. So as you can clearly see, I've missed this part of the wing out. Excuse the light, for some reason it's not. I think it's this white is so bright it's playing with the white balance. Because as you can see, when I have it this way round, it actually shows up quite nice. I've taken these pieces off the sprue. This is just to sort of close up the wing. This is going to be a different colour from the rest of the model, but this is going to be the same. So this is going to need painting. As you see, the wings aren't actually attached yet. And then what I also need to do, I did have the instructions, but I haven't got them on PDF. I don't know if you can see it there, but that's quite a wavy line, and then it goes up there quite wavy. So I'm going to try a new product. I did buy this last week. This is meant to be flexible masking tape. I need to test it out on something because I don't quite trust it, because it's more like electrical tape. So I'm a little bit worried about using it. So what I've got instead is this stuff. Now this is Humbrol Maskol, but this is basically liquid mask. And the way you apply it, I've put some on this plastic tray already just to show you, but the way you apply it is, and you can see it's a liquid, and you get an old brush, one that you really don't care about, and then you just mask where you don't want paint to go, like so. And then what will happen, once this is dry, you can paint over it. And as you can see, like where it's wet, it's quite a lilac colour, but it goes quite a deep purple once it's finished, once it's dried. You then paint over it, and just trying to find some tweezers. And then once it's all painted over, you can just lift that, no problems. I've not used this before, and I have been told it can stain your model purple. So we're going to see what happens. If it does stain my model purple, then I'll just have to repaint it, or go over it with oils. So I will be using this today. Now the plan is to take these pieces off and get those sprayed up black. Then we'll go in with a little bit of white, and then we'll go in with the grey. These ones will be a darker grey. I then want to mask off this white, and then we'll obviously bring that black primer back down, and then we'll start to try and build up the grey. I don't know how much I'm going to get done in one week's video, but if we make a plan that's going to involve too much work, that's got to be better than me not doing enough, isn't it? So yeah, let's see how I get on then. So if you're wondering, this came from the Inner Nerd. This is a 3D printed paint stand, and I tell you what, it's been absolutely invaluable. So, and you see he uses it for painting, and it's got adjustable arms, and I really do want to shout about it because it's absolutely brilliant. So let's get this masked up then. Okay, so not sure if you noticed exactly what I was doing, but what I did is I masked almost up to the line, and then I got my mask hole and I put a big dollop roughly on the masking tape, but not right up to the line, and then I pushed it onto the line. So although it's quite hard to see, especially where it's starting to dry, but the mask hole has taken on the shape of the line that I want to paint, and then I can just go over that with the white, and we'll see how we get on with that. So let's get the other wing done. Okay, so that's the wings done. Now you might argue I put way too much on. My counter argument there is, let's compare these two. If it's put on quite thickly, it really does show up where I've gone and where I've missed out. As you can see, once it starts to dry, it really goes clear, so I can clearly see where it's done. And I figure if it's on thicker, it comes off easier. Let me show you this one that I've done earlier. You can see where it's starting to dry there, so it's gone quite clear around the corners. So I know when this goes completely sort of a lilac clear colour, I know it's ready to paint over. Right, so the next step then is to carry on the masking, but from the side, and it's going to be really tricky because we have bits, for example, all along here wants to be grey, but this bit along there, and then yeah, it wants to go grey along there, but not in there. And there's little bits like there is going to be grey, and I think the grey, but basically it's just a case of following the diagrams. As you see, we have got colourful diagrams, so that's what I'm going to try and follow. Yeah, so yeah, I need to mask inside there, which I think I'll try and do a mask hole, and then along there, but not along this bit there. And I think what I might do is, if I miss a little bit, obviously I'm trying not to miss anything, but if I do miss a little bit, I think I'll just touch it up with a brush later on. So let's go for it. The other thing as well with this is, if you find you make a mistake, it wipes off really easily. So if say for example, oops, see what's drying in the tube, can't you, in the jar. So let's say for example that's been placed in the wrong place. So what I'll do is I'll pull that back. Well, I can either wipe it like that with my finger, or I can just pull that back just to make it go thin, and then once it's dry, then I can, like, I think that's just about completely dry, so that once it's gone I can just wipe it off. So it's yeah, I'm going to try, and I think the biggest challenge really is getting the masking the same on both sides. If I got this just ever so slightly wrong, see, I notice that where this comes up there, it goes over the machine gun, and then it comes down, and then it goes over this bit there, and then it looks like it goes up behind that decal, and then it comes down cuts off the corner of a panel line, and then starts to come up again. But obviously I can't see that behind there because it's covered by the air intake. Now if, for example, if I came a little tiny bit too high, and then maybe over the machine gun, and then a little bit too far down there, and then it wouldn't matter so long as I did exactly the same on the other side. Obviously I'm going to try and replicate that as much as I can, but yeah, let's see how I go. So I'm also going to start from basically I'm going to try and position this so that it's front on view. And then if I do make any mistakes, I might say, for example, if I don't go quite high enough, I can always wait for it to dry and then apply some more. So again, let's see how I manage. Okay, so I hope I've done this masking okay. So basically what I've done is I've masked with mask oil along there. I just need to pop some tape and some more mask oil on there. I've forgotten to do this bit. So obviously all of that's getting the grey. I've continued it along there. I kind of gave up down there because the mask oil just ran in. So what I'm going to do is probably go up to about there, and then what I'll do is I'll do some thin coats with paint. This bit I just think has been a bit of a disaster with regards to masking. So the grey is going to come up to there, but it's only going to come up to there with the wheel wells remaining grey. So I'm going to spray as high as I dare, avoiding this wheel well. Sorry, you can't see it. So I'll probably just spray to about there, and then I'll touch the rest up. And to be honest with you, a lot of that will get hidden up with wing flaps and undercarriage anyway. So, and I am confident that once I get the weathering done, it'll all even it out. As you can see from the colour of that mask oil, it's still drying, so there's absolutely nothing I can do for about half an hour. So I just need to just fill this bit in, and then that's me done for the masking anyway. Okay, so welcome to my spray booth. As you can see, the mask oil is all dried off now. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be a combination of setting up the grey on this, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to black primer, bring this, all of this overspray white back down to black, and then while I'm at it, I'm going to spray some other bits. So we've got these bits going there which need doing, the arrestor hook and the mounting for the arrestor hook, and then I've got a few stowaways on there, which I'm just going to do. Well, I've got the black primer out, I might as well get those done. Then once I've done the black, I'm then going to go over, in addition to the black, I've decided I'm going to go over the panel lines in black. When I did this one, I just went white squiggly all over. Another aircraft that I did exactly the same, but I avoided the panel lines, and that was my result, and I'm really happy with that. So I've decided that I shouldn't have gone over the panel lines. I've seen people go over the panel lines and get great results, and I've seen other people avoid the panel lines and get great results. I think I'm an avoid the panel line fan. Obviously how you do any models of yours is up to you, but I just any lines that you see on there, it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm just going to do that. As far as black primer is concerned, no work is needed done on these, because I've got to get the white in. Once I've done all the black, like I say, I'm going to go in with a white primer and just do the panel lines. I'm then going to go over these areas, all of these. Again, any bits that need white will get done white, any bits that need the mottling will just get mottled. As I say, I'll go over the wing, and then I'll go over it in the white. I'm trying to think what I'm doing here. Right, so black primer, panel line it, then we'll go over, I think I'll do the panel lining on that as well. Then I will probably get the grey out. No, I'll get the white out, and I'll just get these done, and then once I've done the white, then all of this will be ready for the grey. I could probably then mask this up. I think I should have done the grey first, shouldn't I? That's interesting, because then I'd have only had to mask it once. Never mind. So I'll get the white done. Then once the white is done, it's all ready for the grey. The problem with this white is I really need to use insignia white, but because I have already used Tamiya XF, I think it's XF2, XF1, one or the other, so I need to replicate that mistake all over. Sorry, one thing I forgot to say, for the black I'm going to be using the Stylerex black primer, and then for the lining, this mottling, I'm going to use white primer, and then for the actual white, we will use a Tamiya paint. So let me just, there we go. So we'll also use this. This is XF2 flat white. Can't get the focus. There we go. XF2. So let's crack on with it. Okay, so it's time for the second step. So the blacks come out well. As you can see, some areas I've hit really heavy, and some areas not quite so heavy. That's actually fantastic, because obviously this has been hit by the sun, and the sun doesn't like go, oh, that's not quite so faded, so we'll work on that bit. So it's all random. Also, when I did the black, I could not help but get some overspray down there. I don't think there's anything I can do about that. So I think when I've finished all the grey and the white, I think I'll go over it with a brush and just do the touch-ups. I've noticed a few areas actually where I've mucked up. No, I say mucked up, but like there's some areas here where, is it this wing? I don't think you'll see it with the Marscale, but I noticed there's a bit I missed with the Marscale. So you know, the final touch-ups will be done with a brush. Also, don't ever worry about, like, say for example, we don't get a solid line in the right place down here, or if a panel line is too dark or too light. By the time we do all the weathering and stuff with the oil, it's really not going to make much difference. So what I need to do now is get a little bit of white primer. I use the white primer because it's a little bit stronger, and I find that if I spray the white primer a little bit dustier, you get it's a lot easier to do. But we will be doing, well, we're not doing any final white on this one. We will do on the wings. And it looks like my spray part is completely leaked everywhere. That's interesting. So yeah, so next step is going to be the white primer, just to hit these panels, and then we'll do what I'm going to call a catch up on the wing. But that'll be done. No, the wings don't need touching, sorry. So this step we only need to do the nose and the underneath, just where we've gone too far up with the white primer, and then we'll do the stowaways, and the arrestor hook and the wing panels. So shouldn't be a major problem. Shouldn't take more than a few seconds for you guys. Obviously this is a speeded up video, so you know I'm not spraying that quickly. Okay, so while I clean my airbrush, I'll just show you what I've done. So I've gone over it with the white primer, and it's all varied. So you'll see here, for example, it's very, very light, and there it's been hit very, very hard. Now here's the question for you. When I hit that very, very light, did I mean to do that, or was it just I didn't have the trigger back? And this one here where I hit it heavy, did I mean to do that, or did I just slip and just put a bit too much trigger? That is my secret. But that will actually add to the effect. You know, the colour difference will be slightly different there than it will be there. And of course, as I add the grey on, I can control, I can go more over there. The more I go there with the grey, the closer it will get to the actual grey. As if I gave a light coat, say 2 very, very thin coats, these two will look very different. If I gave them both 100 coats, they would then look exactly the same. So I'm not going to tell you if I did that on purpose or not. Okay, so that's all dry and ready to go. So the paint I'm going to use is AK Interactive 3rd generation. Can we get a focus? So this is AK 11866 light gold grey. I just cannot get a focus. There we go. And one of the reasons I love these paints is they give us FS numbers. So a quick explanation. These are broken down into 3 areas. So you've got 1, 2 or 3 at the beginning. This refers to the finish. So 1 is matte, 2 is satin, 3 is gloss. I have another project that I'm doing that requires 36440, which is the same colour, but I'll just put a gloss coat over the top. 6 refers to the group of colours. So 6 is greys. I think 1 is blacks and 2 is reds, and you know, that sort of thing. And then 440 refers to the shade, with 0 being the lightest and 999 being the darkest. So this gives you, regardless of what the manufacturer calls it, this is the shade. So if you got Humbrol 129 and it had an FS of 16440, you know they're the exact same colours. If you pick up another one and it's 16400, then you know it's going to be a slightly different shade. So one of the reasons I love AK Interactive is they're so heavily pigmented, which is actually going to cause us a problem here, because I want my paint really thin. So I've got to thin it down more, which may cause me a problem, because if I have a consistency of water, we could get spidering and all sorts of things. So which is why I make my I've got my thinners, and it's got flow improver in it, it's got alcohol, water obviously, and it's got retarder medium, because when you're shooting a liquid through an airbrush, alcohol dries really quickly and it can dry in the nozzle. And I've also got a 0.5 needle, so it's going to be it's going to be it's not going to get blocked so easily. So if you find that when you're thinning paints down and it's way too thin, you can always put something like this in. This is matte medium, and all this is this is paint with no pigment. I can't open it. I'm so sorry guys, I haven't got the strength to open it. So all this is just paint with pigment. The only drawback with this is cloudy. It goes clear when it dries, but it means that you can't tell immediately if it's the right color. You know, you just have to wait for it to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in, make sure this is nicely shaken. These have got some, I think they've got something in them, like an agitator, but I'm not actually sure. So I'm just going to put, I'm going to put a little bit of, I always put a little bit of water in the bottom of the airbrush first. That stops the paint from going down neat and clogging. And I'm just going to put roughly 3 or 4 drops in there. I think that will be enough to do. Maybe a bit more actually. Let's put another 3 or 4 more in. Right. And then when I mix paints, I use these cheap kiddie brushes. I buy these from my local pound store. These are £1 and you get 5 of these and you get about 3 of these. These are brilliant for cleaning my airbrush out, and these are brilliant for cleaning, for mixing paints. And the reason I love them so much is they've got nylon bristles, so they're really bad for painting, but you literally swish them through water and the paint just comes off instantly. So just so easy to clean themselves. So this is what I always use for mixing paints. So I'm going to chuck in quite a lot of water on there. It's probably about 3 parts water at the moment, or 3 part thinner, 1 part paint. And then we can just try that out. So we're getting some colour, and I would say that's probably actually not bad. Another really easy way to tell, if you have a coloured glove, I use black gloves because I obtain them from work, and this happens to be the colour that they use at work, but just maybe spray a little bit on the back. So can you see that we've got a very light colour on there? If anything, that's actually a little bit too thick. So that's often a good way to tell. So I am going to thin that just slightly, a little bit more. And this is one of the reasons I have a bigger nozzle for doing this sort of thing. It's really, really thin, possibly too thin. What we're aiming for is to perhaps have this grey on in about 5 coats. Yeah, I like that. You can see how controllable that is. So look, there I can do a coat that's so thin you can hardly see it, and if I pull back on the nozzle, do you see how that comes out? But if you see what happens if you put too much in. But if I'm putting tiny thin layers, really, really thin, you know, there is going to be patience required doing this, and I'm sorry if you can't hear me over. See, that's what we're looking for. So I have an advantage in that I have these pieces that I can do first. So I'll do those first, and if it all goes wrong, I've only ruined these and I can just strip the paint down, worst case scenario. So let's have a little go at these first. I shouldn't have done that like that. So let's have a little go. So a little bit of paint on them, not much. Do you see that that's hardly made a difference? Hardly any difference between the two. And that's exactly how I want it. I say it's going to take a lot longer, and I do apologise about the compressor. When I do the actual aircraft I won't have the compressor on. That's gone on a little bit too thick. Of course, the other problem with having paint that's too thin is you run the risk of it running under any masking tape. Too thick, too fast. I have another airbrush, it's a cheap Chinese one, and you can actually restrict the paint flow, which is probably going to be better in this case. But it's all about being controlled. You know, I think if anything I've made this actually too thin. It is going on. It's going on quite nicely actually, but I am going to make it a little bit thicker. I thought that was too thin. I'll show you a little trick for mixing actually. If you're doing it on the there's a guy called Next Level Painting, and I got this from him. If you put your end on the end of the nozzle, press the air down and then just pull back gently, you see it forces the air back in and it mixes that quite nicely. I think that's going to be yeah, I think that'll be okay. So what I'm aiming for is, see that white dot there? I need that to merge in with the surroundings, so it no longer looks like a dot. It just starts to look like the colour variation. I'll start going a little bit broader now. Brilliant, I'm happy with that consistency. So we're getting close to matching it, getting good coverage. So we now want to start to look at areas where it's maybe needs a little bit more help, and then we can stay away from other areas that's probably fine. There you go, I'm getting really happy with that. So we've still got the panel lines. Unfortunately, we've still got a few the white areas, so what I might look at doing is just hitting those panels individually, and just start to bring them out a little bit, just so it starts to blend. Getting really happy with that now, but one thing I'm not happy with is the focus. I wonder if it's where the light is. Let's try that. There we go. Come on. But yeah, it's starting to look better. And of course it will change colour as it dries, so you'll quite often find you'll spray a bit of paint on, you think, oh, that's perfect, and then as it dries it just changes colour. There you go, I'm really happy with those. I mean, it's going to be harder because they're smaller panels, but can you see I've kept so much detail? I've tried to keep that black in there. So obviously the next job we've got to do is make sure that when we do the actual aircraft, we try to keep the colour similar. But I mean, I didn't count the number of coats we put on there, but I reckon we put about 5 or 6. I don't know if somebody wants to go back and count it. There you go. That I'm rather happy with. Again, it's keeping that detail. In fact, if anything, it just wants a little bit more. So I might just hit the individual panels. And then once I've done the whole model, what I would then do is any leftover mix, I'll just put a tiny bit of white in there, and then I can start to hit some individual panels and just bring them up. So let's have a go at the model, and what I'll do is I'll start off with a tailplane and then we'll work on the whole model. It's probably best just to do one section at a time. Let's get this started, and this will be quite nice because if I work just on this tailplane, hitting any areas that might need more attention. This is nice because you can see the focus is a bit better on this. Almost there. So now I'm starting to look for areas that might need individual attention. Put a nice thin layer on. It's just all about bringing it from there just to sort of meet somewhere in the middle. It's not white, it's not black, it's somewhere in the middle. A little bit too much there, but it's not a problem. There you go. Look, if I hold it like that, and you can see the two tail planes side by side, it kind of gives you an idea of what I'm after. This isn't going to be the final colour because there will be weathering on top, but you can see how the sun has hit the panels and it's affected the colour. There's a little bit of too much spray there, so I'm just going to try and bring the edges in just to blend it in a bit. And also, if you don't want to take it a step further, what you need to think about is this aircraft is going to be sat on a carrier deck. Now, when the sun is coming straight down, obviously you're going to get full sun effect. When the sun is at this angle, it's going to create a bit of a shadow, so this area won't get so much sun bleaching. But then once the sun hits this angle, there'll be a bit more shadow there. So maybe think about how much sun there'll be. So maybe as you get into the middle there, you might want to go a little bit lighter than the outsides. Obviously the underside wouldn't be as bad as the top. These are all things that you want to think about. So that I'm okay with that for now. So I'll carry on with the rest of it, and then I'll come back to it and I'll have a look at it. Okay, so while I'm waiting for all of that to cure, I thought I'll do these little parts here. These are going to go in here. Now the colour call out is AS10, which is ocean grey, and I've question marked that we can mix that with XF53, which I don't know what colour that is, and XF18. It's a 6:1 ratio. I don't have either of those colours, so I'm going to pull out the old this is my model, I'll do it my way. And one colour I have got is see if I can get the focus, is this come on, AK11842, which is RAF Ocean Grey. I don't have an FS number for it, but it's a dark grey, and I'm just going to do that. Again, by the time I slapped oils and things on it, I don't think it's going to be, you know, I'm not going to show this at a big major show and hope to win prizes for it. And like I say, I'm just going to pull out the old it's my model, I'll do it my way trick. So same as before, I've just put the bottle down and lost it. There we are. And I'm just going to roughly go over it with nice thin coats. I've got no colour matches, I don't need to match the tone to anything, so I can just go in there and just paint it. Okay, so I'm not 100% happy with that. What I'm not happy about is the fact that I think it actually shows up better on camera than it does in real life. I want a little bit more variation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tiny bit of white in. I know I'm using primer, which is possibly a little bit naughty. And I'm really not going to put a lot in. I just want to just alter that colour just very slightly. Can you see I just literally put a tip of a brush in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the middle a little bit more. Just along the edge, trying to avoid the creases, and then along the very edge here, just create a bit of a highlight. Hardly any paint coming out, and then just give that. Can you see the difference? Not a lot of difference, but there's just a subtle difference. I will go in with a little bit more white in a moment. Just want to hit that middle. There we go. That's nice. Whoops, a bit too much there. Just hit along that hard edge there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit more white in to show you the difference. You can see there's hardly any colour change there. Very subtle. And I'm just going a little bit more towards the middle. And then along that edge again, but not all the way to the end. Now one thing I haven't checked is how much an effect this is actually going to have in the sense of where it's positioned. That's one thing I didn't really give it enough thought to. Do you know what? I think I'm just going to hit that with a little tiny slight whiter in there. And I'm just going to hit the very middles. Right, so what I did on the last bit there is I hit that thin edge quite hard because it's on the outside, and then where it was a little tiny bit of overspray, I then just hit it very gently just to bring that in. So that I'm actually really happy with. We will be putting panel washers on it, but that I feel it's a little bit lighter in the middle. There'll be low lights down there, so when that actually goes on, it's gonna look something like that, and I think that's a little bit more in theme with the rest of it. Let's say there will be oils to adjust it, but that's roughly what it's going to look like. Right guys, so I'm going to leave this to cure for a while, probably overnight. Then we'll do the unveiling with the masking tape. We'll reveal all the mistakes I've made, all the oversprays. I know there's going to be a bit of a cock up here. See where the mask holes start to come off. So that's going to need quite a lot of correction. But I think we are quite well on our way to having a rather nice model. Once the masking tape comes off, one thing I am noticing is when I did this, sometimes I'm looking at it and going, yeah, that's perfect, and then another time I'll look at it and go, I'm not happy. I don't know if I'm going to be happy with this bit here. It's really a case of turning what looks like a little bit of a paint splodge into a stain, or whatever the opposite of a stain would be. So these might need a lot of blending in, but as you can see, all we do is we take the original base color and then we just add a little bit of white or a little bit of black, depending on what we want to do, and it really is that simple. Okay, so what I do is I kind of edit the video as I go, and I can see that we've hit the 53-minute mark, so I think I'm going to draw this video to a close. So let's have a look at what I've done, and we'll do some demasking. So let's do the demasking first. I'm anticipating that this is going to end up awful, and that there'll be a lot of touch-ups with a brush. And having said that, yeah, I can see some areas there that grey nearly needs to be brought down a bit more, but we can focus on that as an individual item. So we'll demask here, and even like you can see, even though I put the mask oil on, I've still got a lot of overspray. So I don't know how best to demask this. Oh god. Do you know, the word I was looking for earlier in the video, that's terrible. I do not like that. That's come off quite messy. Oh, actually no, that's okay. So that's going to need a bit of a clean up. So we'll just have to tidy that up. I'll just have to double check the hum roll video. They tell you how to do that. That I think is actually quite terrible, but I might just have to take that, bring the white up or bring the grey down, whatever, and just feather that a little bit better. So not the best effort ever. So yeah, I'm not on the. I'll use this mask on more often. Anyone who knows me knows that very often when I try something for the first time, my conclusion will be, oh, I'm not really that keen, and then I just try it a little bit more, and then as I get used to it, I suddenly become a big fan of it. But I'm not the biggest fan of mask oil right now. It's but I can't think of a better way to mask this. So yeah, it's not giving me a crisp, clear line as I was expecting. So whether I've put, I don't know, did I not apply it properly? I don't know what happened there. But that is truly terrible. And it came off on the nose, so it hasn't been well masked there. Actually no, oh, I can see the mask oil's actually pulled away from the paint. Where the paint is able to, it's stuck to the model, so I think that's going to need a bit of cleanup. So as I say, I'll have to double check the hum roll video, and putting mask oil down there was a terrible idea, because as you can see I can't get it off. Oh, that's going to be fun, isn't it? I think I might have to do that off camera, otherwise I'm going to end up with a 2-hour video. Yeah, it's not coming off easily. Right, so this, as expected, is going to be needing redoing, but that's not the biggest problem. I don't think it's a major problem either. So, and I think putting masking tape up to the line and then mask oiling on the masking tape probably helped. Right, so I think I can probably touch this up and tidy it all up without the use of any more masking. I think we've done what we need to do. We might need to put some masking around here. So I'll leave this like this, and I'll tidy it all up on the next video, so that then way you can see what I'm doing. But as you can see, it's an absolute mess at the moment, but rubbing it is helping. So yeah, okay, we've got our grey and we've got our white. Oh god, yeah, it's just the bits in there, so there's a learning curve there, isn't there? Oh yeah, that's coming. Ah, that's come out, that's fine. Yeah, that's coming out. So I think the lesson here is, if you're going to put mask oil into crevices, bring that mask oil right out to like there, put it on nice and thick, and then as you'll see, that's going to pull all of that out. So there we go. Right, so I'm still going to need some tweezers and just get that little bits, but it looks like I will. See, I'm going to need to run a paintbrush in there with some grey paint on it. I think cocktail stick to the rescue. And I think I've got some gaps, and that mask oil has run into the gaps, so it's kind of set itself in there. But on the whole, I'm okay with it. Now, this grey, I am torn between I like it and I'm not too sure about it, and it's awful. So I have actually, at the time of filming this, I've messaged a friend, took some pictures and said, could you give this a big critique please? So we'll see what he says and see if I agree with him or disagree with him. But yeah, look, this is the problem bit. I just don't think that's very neat, so I might just have to go with a very controlled airbrush. So the other pieces have turned out rather well, and I think they, I don't know actually, do they look out of place to you? I can't even get that one in. And if you're like me thinking, well, why didn't they just make this as part of the body? There's two different pieces based on whether you intend to have the wings swept forwards or back, and I've chosen this piece because I'm going to have the wings swept back. I think that's not going to go in very easily with without the wing in place. I think the wing kind of guides it, but no, that's the end bit. That's not too bad. I think we'll put some oils on there and weather that up as well. And then this piece, oh, I can't figure out where it goes. Now this pretty much clips into place, and once it's in place, if you get it in right, having said that, I've now painted it. Can't figure out which way round it goes. Yeah, this one went in very nicely prior. Yeah, it's not going in anymore, probably the paint's altered it. So that's that bit there. So yeah, I'm happy with this. What we'll do on the next stage is we'll finish off the white on there and do the white on the bottom, and then we can then revisit the grey, and we can do adjustments to this as required and paint the top of the wing, and then that is then the vast majority of this done. And then we can perhaps focus on weathering. So hopefully in the next video I will be able to weather. I've also got this horrible little thing to do. This is the arrestor hook, and this has got white and black stripes on it. And deliberate mistake number one, it wasn't deliberate. See if anybody else noticed. I painted this. This is where the arrestor hook will go. You see that how I masked it, I've kept the plastic free, so that will go in like that, and this goes on the bottom. Now can you see the mistake I made? I didn't even think. I've painted it grey and it goes on the bottom, which is white. So yeah guys, so that's me over the hour mark. So this is what I've got so far. I'm not unhappy with the results. Obviously my first attempt at using mask oil wasn't the best ever, so yeah, I've got a little bit of learning to do on that one. You can see where the mask oil has been and where the mask oil hasn't, because it's coming away, the paint's coming away freely. I think what's happened is where you place the mask oil and then you paint over it, where there's no mask oil, the paint has stuck well to the plastic, but it's just sat on top of the mask oil. So when you pull the mask oil off, it's not pulled the paint with it, so what you've ended up with is a flap of paint, and I think that's what's happened there, because you'll see there's bits of black under there, and like here, some of these areas you can just chip away. Look, just gently rubbing it with my fingernail, it's actually coming away, but then other areas it isn't. So yeah, but I think we're going to have to go in close in and deal with a lot of these panels individually, but I am happy because even without the weathering, a lot of these panels, I won't use the word popping, but they're certainly there. You know, if you go over with one flat layer of grey, you wouldn't see half of that detail because you haven't got the tonal variation. But look, as you can see, I've not done so well there. I haven't brought that grey down enough to cover that bit. There might be a little bit of touch up needed there, but to be honest with you, for my first masking attempt, there's some more mask oil in there that needs to come out. So yeah, so touching up around there, I have to look a little bit more closely. This is a potential issue because this bit, looking at it from below, you can see the grey bit there, which means the flaps for the wheels are going to be grey on the outside, but it all needs to be white on the inside. So I think I might need to mask up, say to about there, then get in there and mask there, and then get in there and get all the flaps done and everything, and then I think we need a little bit more grey there. I missed some bits there, so no, that's good. I'm okay with that. That's come out okay. So we've just got to get it all, but this is what I said about looking at things individually. Look at all of this. My my masking attempts there are terrible, but it looks like, do you know, I think what's happened there, because I did definitely come up white on there, didn't I? So that's going to need touching up. So I don't know, I'll have a look at different methods of sorting this. As I've explained on some of my other videos, I've actually filmed many weeks in advance. To give you an example, this video is going out on the 17th of June, but the actual date of filming it's the 29th of April. This is because I need to take some time off. I have taken a couple of weeks off this because it was quite distressing that it just didn't seem to be happening. So I think I'm going to take a few more weeks off this. It won't obviously interrupt the schedule because there'll still be a video on the 24th of June, but that video won't be made next week for now. It'll be made, instead of being sort of 6 weeks in advance, it might only be made 4 weeks in advance. So yeah, hopefully you'll catch me next week. Please, if you could give me feedback on the video, the way that I've done it. I'm a little bit happier with it because I've been able to spend a lot more time explaining things, you know, like picking up the paints, telling you what I'm doing with the paints, etc., how I'm doing it and why, and for that reason I'm enjoying it a bit more. But it is making a longer video, but I don't know, I think I enjoy these guys who do these long builds, you know, an hour a week over say 10 episodes. So I'm not really, if I need to get that information in, it's going to be a longer video. Right, so I will leave the video there before I talk into the middle of next week. Hopefully you'll catch me next week when we will continue with the painting of the exterior. Hopefully we can get that done in the next video, so that then we can just start to turn our attention to gloss coating it and then applying some decals, and then gloss coating it again, and then we can start to work on some oil washers. Yeah, right, so guys, take care and I'll catch you in the next video.